Picture this. You are strapped into a cockpit at 28,000 feet. 5 of your most trusted wingmen fly beside you. Your combined flight hours number in the thousands. Your radar is sweeping. Your missiles are armed. Your mission is straightforward: intercept one lone American aircraft that strayed too close to your waters. 6 against 1. You've run this exercise 100 times. You already know how it ends. Except your radar shows nothing. Absolutely nothing. No contact. No warning tone. No lock. And then the radio crackles and your wingman screams your name. Then silence. What you are about to hear is not a training scenario. It is not a war game. It happened over the Persian Gulf in the early hours of March 14, and by the time it was over, 6 aircraft had been erased from the sky by an enemy not one of those pilots ever once laid eyes on. Before we go any further, I want your gut reaction right now. Do you believe pilot skill and experience can overcome a 60-year gap in technology? Yes or no? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, every single time. 6:03 a.m. Persian Gulf. Approximately 62 miles southwest of Bandar Abbas. A single F-35C Lightning II, call sign Wraith 1, was descending south toward USS Carl Vinson after completing a sensor sweep along the Iranian coastline. The pilot, a lieutenant commander with 210 combat sorties behind him, was finalizing his post-mission data log when his /ASQ-239 electronic warfare suite lit up with multiple new contacts. 6 airborne tracks. Climbing hard. Departing from a coastal tactical base. Classification, F-4E Phantom II. He read the data without flinching. 6 Iranian interceptors, vectoring directly toward his position in a disciplined 3-pair bracket formation. Their intent was unmistakable. In any other era of air combat, that pilot would have already been dead. But this was not any other era. And those 6 Phantom pilots climbing through the morning haze were about to learn the most brutal lesson modern warfare has to teach. To understand what happened in those 8 minutes, you first have to understand what those Iranian pilots were flying and what it cost to keep those jets in the air. The F-4E Phantom II first flew in 1958. By the time Vietnam was burning, it was the apex predator of the sky, twin-engine, supersonic, and feared. Iran's Imperial Air Force received over 200 of them from the United States through the early 1970s, creating one of the most powerful air forces in the entire Middle East. Then came 1979. The revolution changed everything overnight. American support vanished. Spare parts stopped crossing borders. Technical manuals were reclassified. Entire maintenance programs dissolved. Engineers who had trained in the United States were suddenly enemies of the state or gone entirely. What happened next is one of the most remarkable stories of mechanical stubbornness in aviation history. For nearly 5 decades, Iranian technicians have kept a small fleet of Phantoms alive through a combination of brilliance, desperation, and sheer human will. When one aircraft becomes too broken to fly, it is stripped to the frame, every valve, every seal, every hand-lathed turbine blade sacrificed so that another jet can take the sky one more time. These are not aircraft. They are living puzzles assembled from the corpses of 5 dead machines, held together by ingenuity that no embargo could kill. Think about that. No spare parts. No factory support. No technical updates. For 47 years. And they still fly. That is extraordinary. That is genuinely, undeniably extraordinary. But here is the cold truth that no amount of craftsmanship can change. The F-4Es and /APQ-120 is a vacuum tube analog radar built on 1960s architecture. Its maximum detection range against a fighter-sized target under perfect conditions, on a clear day, with no jamming, is roughly 50 kilometers. Its radar warning receiver was designed to detect frequencies common in the early Cold War era. Its primary air-to-air weapons are Iranian copies of the old AIM-7 Sparrow-capable missiles, but entirely dependent on that same ancient radar to guide them. Against a fourth-generation aircraft, a Phantom in the hands of a skilled pilot is still a threat. Against an F-35C, it is a man in a blindfold swinging a bat in an empty stadium. The F-35C was not built to win dogfights. It was built to make dogfights impossible. Its APG-81 ESA radar can detect and track fighter-sized targets beyond 150 miles, 3 times the range of the F-4's aging system. Its ASQ-239 Barracuda suite provides full 360-degree electromagnetic awareness across every frequency band used in modern warfare. Its distributed aperture system, 6 fused infrared cameras wrapping the entire airframe, lets the pilot look through the floor of his own jet and see what's below him. The aircraft becomes transparent. The pilot sees everything. And the radar cross-section? The F-35C returns a signature roughly the size of a marble. The F-4E returns approximately 5 to 6 square meters, about as visible on radar as a small car parked in the open. There is no tactic, no formation, no missile system that bridges that gap. When Wraith 1 picked up those 6 contacts at 6:03 a.m., he had them on his display: altitude, speed, heading, weapon state, from over 120 miles away. The entire intercept geometry was already solved before the Iranian pilots had even reached their initial altitude. 6 pilots could not see one. One pilot could see all 6. That asymmetry is the entire battle. But the details of what followed will stay with you. At 5:51 a.m., IRGC Air Defense Command had detected a single American aircraft bearing southwest, approximately 110 kilometers offshore. The duty officer saw the opening immediately: one isolated jet, separated from its carrier group, well within intercept range. The call to Tehran took less than 90 seconds. Authorization came back fast and clean. Do not let it leave. 6 F-4Es launched in a textbook bracketing formation, 3 pairs designed to compress the target's escape angles from front, flank, and rear simultaneously. The formation commander was a colonel. 3 decades in the Phantom. Combat experience stretching back to the Iran-Iraq War. If anyone alive knew how to run this intercept, it was him. His radar showed empty sky. That is because Wraith 1 was already solved on all of them, watching, waiting, perfectly still. At 6:07 a.m., the F-35 pilot called Lincoln for weapons free. Approved in seconds. He did not maneuver. Did not accelerate. Did not evade. There was nothing to evade from. He simply opened his internal weapons bay, and the geometry did the rest. 1 AIM-120D AMRAAM separated cleanly from the bay. Doors closed. Radar cross-section, unchanged. Invisible. 43 seconds of flight. The trailing jet, Falcon 5, received no warning. His radar warning system could not recognize the F-35's low probability of intercept radar modes. The missile came from empty sky and struck his right engine. The Phantom broke apart in a fireball over open water. His wingman's voice tore through the radio: "Falcon 5 is down. I cannot find the shooter, where is he? Stop for 1 second and put yourself in that cockpit. 30,000 feet. Your radar shows nothing. Your instruments are clean. Your wingman just died and there is no enemy anywhere on your scope. The sky around you is completely, utterly empty. What do you do?" 6:08 a.m. Falcon 6 broke hard right, dispensing flares, rolling in desperate evasion, but there was no lock to break. The second AMRAAM was already tracking. It clipped his left wing root and the jet began a flat, uncontrolled spin. He ejected at 21,000 feet. 2 Phantoms gone in under 90 seconds. No warning. No defensive opportunity. Nothing. 6:09 a.m. Falcon 3, flying the left bracket, began violent defensive maneuvering with no missile lock indication whatsoever, just raw instinct and terror driving his hands on the stick. He was rolling, turning, pulling flares from empty dispensers, trying to break a radar lock he had no instruments to confirm. The third AMRAAM found his tail section. He punched out successfully. 6:10 a.m. Falcon 4, watching his wingman's parachute unfold below him, made the only calculation that made sense. Survival. He lit the afterburner and pointed his nose toward the coast, running hard. The fourth missile caught him before he covered 7 miles. 4 jets. 4 missiles. 3 minutes and change. Aboard Carl Vinson, a translator was feeding unencrypted Iranian radio traffic directly into the F-35 pilot's headset in real time, fragmented Farsi. Overlapping transmissions, voices climbing toward panic. Men who had given their entire careers to this aircraft, trying to locate an enemy their instruments were never built to find. He listened for one breath. Felt the weight of it. Experienced warriors, disciplined pilots, men who loved what they did, caught on the wrong side of a 60-year technology wall. Then he refocused. Sentiment has no place in an active engagement. 6:11 a.m. Ground control screaming abort on open frequency. Too late for Falcon 2. The colonel was alone. 6 jets had become 1 in less than 5 minutes. What he did next made no tactical sense at all, and every human sense in the world. He turned his nose directly toward the threat bearing and pushed the throttles forward. If this was the end, he was going to fly into it face first. Not running. Not hiding. Forward. His ancient radar swept. Empty. Empty. Then, for 3/4 of a second, a ghost return. Barely a smear. 13 miles. Bearing 192. Gone before he could capture it. He had found the shadow of the thing that was killing him. He aimed his nose at empty sky and pushed everything he had into it. 6:13 a.m. A flash of light. The rocket ignition of an AIM-120D launching from a point in space his radar had already lost. He pulled hard into the threat and dispensed his last countermeasures, every flare, every chaff burst, everything. The missile tracked clean through all of it and struck his center fuselage. The last phantom came apart over the Persian Gulf. 8 minutes. 6 missiles. 6 kills. The F-35 was never once threatened. Not for a single second of the entire engagement. At 6:21 a.m., Wraith 1 transmitted back to Carl Vinson, 6 bandits splashed. Winchester. RTB. What followed was not a pause for reflection. 8F divided by a -18E Super Hornets and a pair of EA-18G Growlers were already airborne. At 6:32 a.m., the Growlers activated their ALQ-99 jamming pods and Iranian air defense radar screens across the southern coast went white with electronic interference. Every display, every track, every contact, obliterated in seconds. At 6:38 a.m., AGM-88E HARM anti-radiation missiles destroyed 4 radar installations along the coast in under 75 seconds. No warning. No time to shut down. The missiles home on the emissions themselves. At 6:44 a.m., JASSM standoff cruise missiles struck the tactical base's runway, hardened aircraft shelters, and active flight line. 3 more F-4's aircraft that had not launched that morning. Aircraft that had survived 47 years of sanctions and isolation and sheer bloody-minded maintenance burned on the tarmac. In one hardened shelter, a Phantom that had been disassembled for maintenance sat surrounded by decades of accumulated spare parts. Hand-machined components, black market acquisitions, reverse-engineered assemblies representing thousands of hours of impossible technical work. A penetrating warhead came through the reinforced roof and ended all of it in a single instant. By 6:55 a.m., every American aircraft had recovered aboard Carl Vinson. Total time from first launch to last recovery, under 50 minutes. Iran lost 9 F-4 Phantoms that morning, 6 in the air, 3 on the ground. Roughly a quarter of its entire remaining operational fleet, gone before the sun had fully risen. 3 pilots were recovered by search and rescue. 3 were killed in action. American losses, 0 aircraft, 0 personnel.